عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان لكم رقيبا يا الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد إن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله عز وجل وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة في الإسلام بدع وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. All praise is due to Allah, Allah alone. We praise Him and we extol Him. We send the finest of salutations on Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Where the most truthful of speech is the book of Allah Ta'ala. in the finest guidance that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the most evil affairs are the newly invented ones, bid'ah. And every newly invented matter in Islam is going astray. And every going astray leads to the hellfire. Nas'al al-afiyah wa thabat. Ramadan Mubarak. رَبَّنَا تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا وَمِنكُمْ أَعْمَالًا صَالِحًا. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us all to have a blessed month of Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taqabbal, accept from us our good deeds. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala facilitate us all to do more amala salihah, good deeds. That is mutabbiq ala sunnat al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I ask Allah al-Azim, Rabb al-Arsh al-Kareem, and Yashfi al-Marid. I ask Allah, the Lord of the magnificent throne, to cure those who are sick, aid those who are suffering. I ask Allah, Rabb al-Arsh al-Azim, to help those who are suffering from any type of ailment, any type of schism, any type of mental health disorder. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala move from them their stress and their anxiety and replace it with peace and happiness and tranquility. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those of us who are undergoing any type of examination, to make us of the fa'izin, of those who are successful and succeed. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help those who are on the front lines, the mujahideen, those who are fighting and struggling on the front line to defend the front lines of Islam. Ameen, Ameen, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Today, bidnillah, by the help of Allah and the tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I would like to speak about some of the etiquettes and mannerisms of the saalaf. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with them. What was the etiquettes and manners for welcoming the month of Ramadan? We all know that they would make dua months in advance to Ramadan. Allahumma balagna Ramadan. We should ask Allah, we should have been asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if we were sincere and we had the raghbah and we had the desire to reach this month, then we would have been of those who were praying for months in advance that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will allow us to reach this time. Alhamdulillah alameen, it's apparent that we were of those asking Allah for this moment. Alhamdulillah alameen, we have arrived at this blessed time period, which is full of fawaid, of benefits, and fawakih, fruits that are ripe for the picking. So we know from the aqidah and the manhaj of the salaf and salih, how they were prepared for this is by asking Allah, by His greatest names. Allahumma balagna Ramadan. They would cry and beg Allah. How many of us have been preparing for this? There was an imam who was preparing for this in the United States for months, and he died just 2 weeks prior to Ramadan. Many people are not with us right now. I got a phone call a couple of days ago. My friend went to go and spend time with his wife because she's not able to come here. She died a week before Ramadan. He's now today burying his wife. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We're alive and well, my dear Iman. One of the main things we need to have for the acceptance of our good deeds is niyyah salih, niyyah mukhlis, niyyah safi. We need to have a good, clean, pure intention of Ridwanullah Rabbil Alameen. Because it's not enough for us to just abstain from eating and drinking and then fill up the tank again at iftari time. No, there are many things that we need to have in place in order for our fast and our amal salih to be accepted, because fasting has darajats. Ramadan, Ramadan haqiqatan, in reality, in actuality, it has levels. The base level is abstinence from food and drink and our base desires. This is the base level, but there are many levels and heights that we are yet to attain in this blessed month. So we know from the hadith of Umar Khattab, Innama al-amalu biniyat, Innama likulli amrin ma nawat, la akhir hadith, that the first thing that we need to have is a good intention. Why? Because everything that we do is founded upon our intention. And each and every one of us will only get what we have intended. We'll only get that which we strive for. So we know, and we advise the young to always strive hard, to work hard, stay on the team. Even if you're on the bench, you're still a part of the team. Work hard. Win or lose, you made it on the team. You arrived at that pinnacle of being a part of the team. Of course, there's only a few stars, but you made it on the team. You're a part of the squad. So you shouldn't think less of yourself. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, that we made it to this auspicious time period in our lives to be of those who are at least fasting this blessed month of Ramadan. So my dear Brother Iman, how was the saalaf in this blessed month of Ramadan? And we know that the reality is the majority of us, we become overwhelmed in this month by preparing how? By putting money aside so as to give it in Ramadan, because we know that the ajr, the reward, is increased 10 to 700 times and then more. No. We go on looking for shopping deals. How do we prepare for Ramadan? By shopping. And the wives are busy cooking. The men are busy shopping. We prepare for Ramadan by looking forward to making nice dishes, which is, it's good. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. But that is not our hadith. That shouldn't be our focus. We allocate time for this and time for that. We cannot allocate all of the time for shopping and cooking, preparing fancy dishes and fancy drinks. This has been the norm for the most of us. There's a hadith that written the same Imam Bukhari and Muslim, and the authority of Abu said that the Prophet ﷺ said, when the month of Ramadan comes, the doors of paradise are flung open, and the doors of the hell are sealed shut, and the devils are chained up. From this hadith, it should be clear to us that we have the opportunity to do so much good, that the blessing, the barakat in this month is too much. Brother, please turn off your phone. No talking during the khutbah. Jazakallah khair. The blessing is too much for us to ignore. From this hadith itself, that the doors of paradise are flung open and the gates of the hell are sealed shut and the shayateen are shackled, which means that we cannot use the excuse that the devil made me do it. We cannot blame the shaitan for our lackadaisical attitude or lack of energy in doing good. We can only blame that on ourselves. We cannot blame the 9 to 5 because it's illegal. Nobody can work for 24 hours in a day. We work for a certain amount of time. And we have time enough to do so much, multitudes of good deeds. Alhamdulillah. There are many ahadith and there are many narrations on how the saalaf would welcome Ramadan and what the saalaf would do during the day and nights of Ramadan. We are now fasting, alhamdulillah, during the day, and we are also praying during the day and during the night. And we should also be nashat, energetic, and giving all forms of sadaqat, charity, gift giving, generosity. This was the character of the Prophet ﷺ, that during the month of Ramadan, they said that the Prophet ﷺ was more generous than the blowing of the wind in his generosity. This is the way he would give, like the blowing of wind. They said the way the Prophet ﷺ's generosity was during the month of Ramadan, it was like a man who was not afraid of poverty. Allahu Akbar. We complain and we're fearful. The Prophet ﷺ, he had many wives. He had children. He had homes. But the way he would give during the month of Ramadan was like a man not afraid of poverty. Because he knew that once you give, Allah increases your bib sadaqat. He increases the acts of charity and sadaqah. He understood this and he lived by it. So my dear Basan Iman, is reported that the Salaf would occupy their time, and they know that this month was coined as the season of worship, ibadah. Because during this month of Ramadan, we can do all acts of ibadah, and the reward can be multiplied over 700 times, to say the least, all on account of us having a good, clean intention. What is our intention? What is our niyyah? That our niyyah is between us and Allah. And fasting is one of the greatest forms of ibadah, because there's no riyah. There's no showing off while fasting. Only Allah knows that we're fasting. Allah knows the level of our fast. Only Allah knows. But now, between us and Allah is also our tibaq sunnah. How firm are we upon the sunnah whilst we're fasting? We know that the Salafun Salih, whilst they were fasting, they would leave the dunya. They would minimize their acts of the dunya, their works of the dunya. They would not be rushing for overtime hours. They would not be looking for more than what they needed in Ramadan in terms of the dunya. And what they would do is spend more time in ribat. Ribat is what? Taking time out. Taking the most of your time and spending it in the masjid, the Biyutillah, and reciting the Quran, making the dhikr of Allah, and to tadabbur al-mana, reflecting, deep contemplation on the verses that we have read. Some of us are in our 30s, 40s, some even in the 50s and 60s, and have never ever made the ascent of wanting to learn the Quran and how to recite the Quran in Arabic. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had made the Quran easy. Most of us are Ajami. We're non-Arabic speaking people, but that does not mean that we cannot take the ascent and make the effort to learn. If we read 20 pages a day in Ramadan, we'll have finished it by the end of Ramadan. We can do that. Maybe an hour, hour and a half. For those who are prolific at reading, they can finish a juz in 20 minutes or less. Maybe those of us who are not as prolific in reciting the Quran, maybe take an hour, hour and a half. But we have to take the ascent, make the effort. On top of that, there are those of us who are in our 20s, 30s, 40s, even 60s, have not even tried to read the Quran in their mother tongue. This is a shame. we have been blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the book that has no alterations in it. And we haven't even made an effort to read it in our own mother tongue. Say we're old, we cannot read, we cannot learn Arabic. That's an excuse. Allah musta'an. But why have you read it in your own language? Make the effort to read it in your own language. There's a hadith, there are many efforts, there are many narrations on the Salaf and the Salih that they would make rabat in the masjid. No, I don't want to go to that mosque. They are this and they are that. You're not going to the masjid because of this or that. Go into the masjid and find a corner and open the book of Allah and read. Make an effort. Iqra was the first words revealed to the Prophet ﷺ. Read in the name of your Lord. He said, and Jibril squeezed him. He said, I am not a person who can recite. He squeezed him. We tell these stories to our kids, but it does not reflect on us. We run for the dunya and say, send them to madrasa to learn the Quran and give them the Quran. They have memorized Quran. What about us? We need to learn and understand. Take our time to read and contemplate the meaning. Make a ribat in your local masajid, wherever you feel comfortable, and sit and read the Quran. This is the month of the Quran. And whilst the Salaf will be reading the Quran, and to the Tadabbur al-Ma'na, reflecting on the meaning and studying it, they would preserve and safeguard their amal salih by not backbiting others. And they were not listening to the backbiting of others in their presence. There's a hadith in the Muslim of Imam Ahmad and the Sunnah of Ibn Majah on the authority of Abdullah ibn Amr ibn As, who said that we finished the prayer of Maghrib one evening, and those who wanted to leave left, and those who wanted to stay, they stayed. After a short time, the Prophet ﷺ, he came out. He came out breathing heavily, and his knees were showing. And he said, Abshir, glad tidings for you who chose to stay behind. Allah just told me a door of heaven was opened up for those who sit and wait for the prayer after the prayer. Allahu Akbar. Also in the Muslim of Imam Ahmad is reported that a brother who reported that the Prophet ﷺ said that the person waiting for the prayer after the prayer is like a knight whose horse is strong in the face of the enemy. And the angels, they send the salawat and salam on the person. They say, Allahumma salli wa alayhi. Allahumma aghfir lahu. Allahumma arhamhu. Oh Allah, send the salat on him. The peace, the mercy, the sakina. Have mercy on him and forgive him. Forgive that person. So long as they remain in their spot, as long as they remain in the masjid, and they're in a state of purity, they don't lose their wudu. ذَلِكُمُ الرِّبَاطِ ذَلِكُمُ الرِّبَاطِ ذَلِكُمُ الرِّبَاطِ. The Prophet said, that is the ribat, the person who is guarding the frontier, the front lines. So in this statement of remaining in the masjid, sitting in the masjid, it also contains offering nawafil prayers, offering optional prayers, making dhikr of Allah, reciting the Quran while tadabbur, reflecting on the meaning, and listening to good knowledge, and sharing that good knowledge with others. The Salaf would do all of these things in the month of Ramadan while always looking for ways in which to do good. This was their way. This was their methodology in Ramadan. Since it was known that the Salaf, they would strive hard at doing good deeds. And at the same time, khawf, fear. They would be overtaken by fear. And at the same time, they would have raja. They would have hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might accept one of their deeds. One of their deeds. They would usually be overtaken by khawf, fear. Why? Because they know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not accept that which is done with taqwa. Allah does not accept just because, no. Just because you have to have taqwa. This is the missing ingredient. So the Salaf, they would be overtaken by fear and grief, more so than them being eager to do the deeds. They would be more fearful that the deeds themselves would not be accepted from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because they understood that the day when we stand in front of Allah, la yanfa ma wa la banun illa man atta Allah bi qalbin salim. The time when we stand in front of Allah, when no wealth or your offspring, your children, would benefit you, except for the person that comes to Allah with a clean heart. They understand that. They will be asked how you did it and why you did it. Did you do it for riyah because you knew people would be coming? So you raised your voice while reciting? Why did you do it? How did you do it? Did you do it liwajillah? Did you do it tabiq as-sunnah, according to the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ? These questions would be going over and over in their heart. Why am I doing it? Why did I choose this time? Because I knew people would be coming, they would see me and they would watch me. No, they would be afraid of riyah all the time. We do a little bit and we think we did so much. I did this. What did you do? They would hide their good deeds. Like how people want to hide their sins, this is how they would hide their good deeds. Man, we have to appreciate this time period that we're in, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to do more good deeds. Amen. Bismillah, salatu salam ala Rasulullah wa ala alihi wa sallam. The topic of today's khutbah was regarding some of the etiquettes and manners of the Salaf during the month of Ramadan. In closing, I would like to share an authentic hadith, which is in the Sahih Imam Muslim. A brother who reported that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he asked his companions, "Atadruna man al-muflis?" Do you know who the bankrupt person is? Sahaba, they said the person that does not have any money or any bada. He doesn't have anything to trade, to sell. He has no money, no dinar, and he has nothing to sell. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Muflis fi ummati." The muflis, the bankrupt person in my ummah, is the one who will come. Yati yawm al-qiyamah. Ka'amthal al-jibal hasanat. He will come on the day of judgment with something that looks like a mountain size of hasanat, good deeds. This is the loser, he said, in my ummah. He will come on the day of judgment with what? A mountain size of good deeds. He will come with prayer. He will come with fasting. He will come with sadaqat. But قد شتم هذا وضرب هذا وأخذ مال هذا. He cursed that person. He abused that person. He slandered that person. He swindled that person out of their money. He beat that person. So from their good deed, that great person all of their good deeds will dwindle and they'll be put onto those other people's scales. And if the persons are not satisfied, then the person's sayyi'at, their evil deeds, will be transferred over onto that person's scales, until the point that they'll be thrown into the hellfire as a bankrupt loser. This hadith, Madam Iman, should make it clear, crystal clear for us, to protect our good deeds. Amsik alayha hada ya Mu'adh. Hold your tongue, he advised Mu'adh. He said, will we be questioned about what comes out of our mouth? The Prophet ﷺ said the majority of the people will be dragged on their face and flung into the hellfire on account of what comes out of our mouths. So we need to be careful that our deeds do not be wiped out because we're backbiting, we're slandering, we're still swindling, we're not learning to hold back, we're not controlling our desires. This is the month of self-restraint. Allah said, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان ومن شهد منكم الشهر فليصوم. The month of Ramadan is the month in which the Quran was revealed as guidance and clarity and guidance on the straight path, Furqan. So whosoever witnesses this month, let them fast. There was a narration, an author, on one of the saalaf. A man approached him and he said, I heard you were backbiting me. He said, who are you that I am going to backbite you? If I'm going to backbite anybody, I would backbite my parents because they're more worthy of my good deeds than you. And he understood, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only accepts from those who are muttaqeen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of al-muttaqeen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cure those of us who are sick. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give thabat, firmness for those who are weak in their deen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us a tawfiq to be of those who yatabbiq as-sunnah, who implement the sunnah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help those who are struggling in their business, those who are struggling in their halal business. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them more in their rizq. Those who are struggling in their economy of any type, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help them in that situation. May Allah help our brothers and sisters who are struggling in Kashmir, in Afghanistan, in the Balad al-Sham, في كل مكان يا رب العالمين إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا الذين آمنوا اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة.